Sometimes people do things because they're just looking for the financial benefit. And then it gets crazy because that same concept exists at the very top of like government and control and power and big businesses. It's like the thing that I never understood during this whole time was when people didn't recognize it, like these companies, the vaccine companies are all for-profit businesses. It's not like they're nonprofit business that are doing this shit just because they care about people. They're making trillions of dollars, and you're not understanding that. Like, I never got this when they were like, the vaccine is free. Well, like, you got to take the vaccine, right? And it's like, no, it's a business that just made billions and billions and billions of dollars, and our tax money that you've already paid to the government is now giving it to this for-profit business.
Totally.
And who knows what politicians have their hands in those pockets. And it's like, what the are people not recognizing that? And I never understood that. I never understood that. And I never understood that, we talk about shaking the ant jar, and it's like, that's what's happening. And people then just take it in their own account to just go parrot this and parrot that back and forth at each other while they're just cashing the checks and being like, haha. And but then you have the little smaller, like the ants, us making the content, also cashing different checks, parroting like, I believe this and I believe that.
Sure.
Whether which one's right or wrong is kind of not the point in this conversation, but that's where it gets all tricky. It's the internet in connection with money and AdSense and ads, and then it's them doing the same at a higher level worth a lot more money. And then I just don't understand how people don't see that. And then they just go, this is it, instead of being like, wait, what's really happening?
Yeah. Well, and this is your ability to critically think.
Right. But I don't understand how it is not hard to go.
It's not.
Hey, does that business make money doing this? Hey, is that stuff actually free?
No.
It's not like rocket science.
No.
So that's what I don't get, is like, are people just that stupid?
It's disturbing, because all of that, what you just mentioned, is disturbing. It's disturbing to me, and I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's like I think that movie's called like An Ant's Life or something like that, right? Where it's ants, but the grasshoppers tell the ants what to do. Right?
Oh, dude, I love that movie.
Right?
Yeah, I love that movie.
But there's one ant that says, you know what? We don't need to collect all your food anymore. Go do it yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And they try to attack him. Then all the ants start standing together. And guess what?
When is that going to happen?
This is what I'm saying. When is that going to happen? Think of, like, if we're thinking of ourselves as ants, which is basically what, if you take this and apply it to our world, right? All the ants stand together. Guess what? The grasshoppers don't have a say anymore. At all.
I feel like the whole point is for that never to happen. That's like, I'm not saying that's the point and that's what should happen. I feel like that's what is.
All you have to do is say no, right? And like, for me, this is just one example, right? Like, okay, you're telling me to wear a mask. Well, I'm not wearing a mask, right? So I'm going to walk in. And I had people say that, because what happened? I went to the grocery store. I didn't put one on. Yeah. Somebody going to come force me to put one on? No.
Yeah, I did that too. Every single time.
But what happened, bro? I'm in there.
Yeah.
People are coming up to me and taking pictures. But what do they do when they take the picture? Take their mask off. They don't want to be wearing the mask. The overwhelming majority of people did not, right? Yeah. They were doing it just to comply. But it's a massive signal as a population that if they can force us to do that when you don't want to do it and you just go along with it because you don't want to rock the boat, right? People told me afterwards, you know what? I saw you in public not doing that, so then I stopped doing it too.
Yeah.
Right? So it just takes one person to stand up and start to do it, and then it's a trickle effect.
Yeah.
Right? But if we would have said collectively, you know what? Everybody doesn't want to wear one. We're not wearing one anymore. What would they have done?
Well, they instilled the fear.
Yeah.
That's why people go, oh, okay.
But again, where did that come from? And all this stuff is now unraveling now, where it's like, well, I don't know. I didn't know at the beginning. Nobody did.
Yeah.
But that's when critical thinking needs to come into play and say, like, okay, wait a minute. What is this? Right? What is it actually?
How do you think you get people to be better critical thinkers? Like, what do you?
Well,
what can we fucking do?
I think talking like we are right now, and just saying to people that they need to have an open mind, right? Like you need to be able to stand for something, or you will fall for anything, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can't have your own thoughts and beliefs, that's what I think that maybe it's the powers that be don't want that, right? So it's starting with the kids getting the participation trophies, and now you have weaker a weaker society, especially weaker men.
Yeah.
Right. And you need strong men to have a good society.
Yeah.
I truly believe that,
100%.
right? Like men need to be capable of being men, right? And standing up and standing on their own 2 feet. And if I say, no, I'm not doing this, then you need to back that up. I'm willing to back it up. But again, you know, this is, I think the bigger fear is if we are getting that weak, which I think we are, right? How do we shift that? So you have the ability to think, but also say, I'm not going to do this, right? And that's how I felt. That's how I truly felt, is like, I'm fighting, like in my mind, like I have 2 little boys, right? So I'm fighting for their right to be free when they're older. Right. And I know that that's deep, right? Because I'm like, I'm not putting a mask on. I'm not doing this. I'm not playing your little charade at all.
Yeah.
But for me, like I want my boys to have a good world to live in when they're older too. Right. And if we give up our freedom because, it's just putting on a mask. Right. To me, that was a massive deal, bro. Massive. It's much bigger than people want to say, it's not that much of an inconvenience. Come do it.
Yeah.
No, bro, I'm not covering my face up. Like, I'm not doing that. You're not telling me to do that. It's my right to breathe air the way I want to breathe air.
Yeah.
Right. And if I want to look at somebody and smile, I want to be able to do that. Right. Like I'm not playing your game, because also there's no merit in the mask.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't do anything. Right. But also I did a lot of research on that as well.
Yeah.
About masks and the effectiveness, even where masks started in the first place, right? Like I looked into all of that because I was like, well, if there's merit, I would have gone along if it was like, it's
also
actually
a massive business.
Yes.
3M made a lot of money.
Then, people talk about the world, like think of the pollution that just those masks caused, right? But everybody wants to say, well, the world is green and I want to protect the world and all this, right?
Right. The same side that also said that we should wear masks is like, well, we also got to Gretchen, whatever that girl's name is, like, protect the world. And it's like, all right, well, what the are you doing?
I think that's
also the insane about the mask to me that really just was like just a blatant thing that was like, how are people not recognizing this? Most people put on a mask who believed in masks would wear that same mask day after day, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, collecting germs from everywhere.
Gross. Yeah.
And also the funniest part was that same concept I'm saying. Every single person, whether they believed in the thing or not, was like, yo, when I go to a restaurant, and when you go to the restaurant, because some restaurants were okay at some point, you had to take it off to go pee. You had to take it off when you're eating, but you had to walk to your table. You had to walk. And they were all like, yeah, that is kind of stupid. I'm like, how do you not see then how the whole thing is stupid? Where it's like,
no,
if I wear a mask and I'm in my car or whatever, right? Or if I'm somewhere and I take it off and I throw it here, I do it and I take it off because I'm like eating and I put it on the table and you're collecting germs everywhere. And you're just the whole point
disgusting.
The whole point of like the mask is obsolete.
Yes.
So what the are you actually doing?
This is such a good point, man, because it is mind blowing that people were okay with that. Like apparently it only hovers at 5 feet and above. So if you sit down at a table, you're cool. Take it off.
Also,
right?
It only spread in public jurisdictions because they didn't close down any federal jurisdictions, which would have been airports the entire time.
Yep.
And I remember that was my biggest question. I'd ask the guys because they would come try to shut me down every single day.
Sure.
And I would ask them, I'd say, well, how come the airports are still open? They go, well, we're public. We're in the public section.
Yeah.
We don't know about that's federal jurisdiction. So I'm like, so it doesn't spread in federal jurisdictions, what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we'll have to ask like a higher up. And I was like, okay, there's no answers here. You guys are insane.
No.
Like I'm not shutting this down.
No, don't.
So it's just like
but you again, man, you were willing to stand on your own 2 feet. And I respected that. I said that to you when I came out during all of it going on, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that says a lot about you in my mind. And if you look back, and it's not this situation now where, okay, it's very easy after the fact to say, oh, guess what? I was right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that, because then what does that do? That creates more division. So it's like, well, somebody that was so firmly planted in the ground that like, I need to wear a mask and I need to get the vaccine and I got to comply. And like, if you're not doing this, you're killing grandmas and whatever, right?
Right.
That person, it's a difficult thing for that type of person to open their mind up and say, you know what? God, I was wrong. Yeah. Right. And like in all fairness, I'm sure that if for example, you were keeping the gym open and for whatever reason, I was like, gosh, this is really bad. Like I can objectively see that this is really causing a problem here. Not that it would have, but right, to flip it on its head a little bit. I'm sure you would have said, you know what, man, I screwed up.
100%.
Right. And I would have said the same. Like if because I looked into all of it, bro, like a lot.
Yeah,
Because I
too.
do that. Like it was not whatever I was doing and saying was not based on just a like an emotional response.
Yeah.
It was like I had put a lot of thought into whatever I did and whatever I said, right? And how I did it and what I wanted to do, because it's just the way that I do things. So I'm sure you did the same. And it's just those people. And again, it's not that like I would ever say I dislike or hate somebody that was so firm in their beliefs on one side. It's still willing to break down that barrier, have a conversation with them, and still be cool, right? Like it's all right. Like, but again, it comes back to this hate, right? Like now I have to hate you, and now I'm going to hate you because you kept your gym open and you were ultimately right. Like it was,
No, it 100% goes both ways, and I think even now it's up to, because if we're talking about politically on the spectrum, right? People on the right are now like, haha, you idiots, we told you. Yeah. It's also our duty to also, if we're expecting them to have these sort of left or whatever, to have the conversations with us where they're more like kind of forgiving or like understanding of our perspective or point of view. It's also up to us to now go to not reprimand and make these people feel like
yeah.
But that was the thing that I didn't like during it. I was like, everyone over here was like, you're an idiot, you're a piece of shit, you're killing grandmas. And I'm like, wait, what the are you talking about? Yeah. So it's because then now you go, well, it started here, so that everyone feels like we have to go back. Like that's totally. So the mass is like, yeah, we got to say you because you were saying us. Yeah. But it's like, we're going in circles. Yeah. And guess what? The mother grasshoppers are like, you idiots.
You're playing right.
We got you.
Yeah. You're playing.
Keep
playing
it up, idiots.
Yeah. And this is where you have to just be, again, it's be willing to be open-minded, but also be the bigger person where it's like, I don't need to necessarily play, like get down and play that game. Yeah. Right. It's just like, hey, I just wish people would open their minds, man, like a little bit more in the world. And just, again, the difference isn't there. It's just not, I wish that people could see that. And if you're in person talking to somebody, just get off of social media especially if you're going down that rabbit hole, and go have a conversation with somebody.